Hi everyone, it's Danny. Welcome back to another process video for Cocoa Vanilla Studio. Today I am working with the Legendary Collection, of course, and we are documenting our outdoor adventures this week. So I have some photos of my little man, I think 2016. Yep, so a few years ago now, and he is playing in the sandpit with his little friend. And I'm actually going to chop these photos down to not quite 3x4, a little bit smaller than 3x4, because I have quite a bit of stuff going on in the background that I don't want there. And I am also going to be using this cut file. This is a beautiful design from COAPA cut files that I have cut out in a nice dark blue cardstock. So let me know if you ever like to cut your cut files out on colored cardstock, or if you only ever use white, because I quite often, I would say, use a colored cardstock. I really enjoy that. So I am going to back this cut file. I'm going to do all the suns with this yellow paper from the 12x12 collection kit, and it is called Wild One. It has that beautiful rainbow stripe on the other side, and it's just the perfect yellow for suns. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm using some of the scraps that I have left over from the rainbow layout that I made few weeks ago, and I am just flipping the cut file and the pattern paper over, tracing out my shape, and then trimming it out and gluing it down with a little bit of tacky glue. Now you can see I took that cut apart sheet, which is called Total Legend, and I cut out some of the more solid colored patterns. So I'm using that orangey red, the green, and the blue, and I'm going to use that star paper that is off to the right as well. Don't forget, I do list all the individual products I use, so all the separate papers are listed in the blog post, which will be linked in the description box. So make sure you go check that out if you would like to read through all that. So now I'm coming in with some of this iridescent medium, which I've been having a lot of fun playing with lately, and this is just some plain vellum that I am slopping it onto. So I just went in with my paintbrush to start with. I wasn't loving those brush strokes, so I am just going over with a makeup sponge, and this is just a cheapie that I got from the dollar store. And then I decided to sponge it on with the sponge and see if I like that better. And I didn't like that dabbing motion I was doing. It was leaving big circular marks. So what I end up doing is just coming in with the sponge and just kind of rubbing it in circular motions. And I like that finish probably the best. But the finished product, you can't really tell the difference between the techniques. Plus, this rubbing technique, you can see it made the edges of the vellum curl up really quite badly, so I've just popped something heavy on the top. So there we go, we have this super shiny iridescent vellum. It was really fun to do. It has made the vellum crinkle up a little bit, which, just fair warning, any liquid you add to vellum will make it crinkle quite a bit. But I knew it was going to do that. I've worked with vellum in mixed media before, and that is the look I was going for. I wanted some texture and dimension. I really like lots of depth and interest to my layouts. So what I'm doing now is just adding a little bit of tacky glue to the back of my clouds, and then I'm just popping the cut file straight on top of the vellum. I'm not tracing the shapes and then gluing down, because the vellum is that uneven crinkled texture. It's not completely flat, so it is quite hard to trace a perfect shape out of. So I'm just going ahead and gluing straight onto the vellum, and then coming in with my fussy cutting scissors and trimming off the excess there. So I've sped this up super quick because it's quite drawn out and boring to watch. So now I'm going to work on my background, and I'm taking these two papers. So I really like the blue in this pattern paper, so I am just going to gut out the center because I don't want to waste any pattern paper. I just want the outside border. And I chose the white and black speckle, well, it's little triangles actually. I chose that one, and I just trimmed off 1 centimeter off two sides so that I have a nice 1/2 centimeter border all the way around the outside. And I've chosen this one because I wanted a really light, bright background, and I do want to add some mixed media as well. So this paper is really nice because it's not a plain white. You do have that pattern from the black triangles, but it is really easy to add mixed media to. So there we go. You can see how shiny and pretty those clouds look. It's not as obvious on the video because it's quite kind of high exposure and contrast, but in real life it's super, super shimmery and really pretty. So I'm just adding, this is a Distress Oxide ink spray that I got recently. It's in the new Speckled Egg color. And I'm just spraying that straight on the background. I actually really like how these spray. And because the cut file is going on over the top, you won't really see any imperfections. I'm just trying to concentrate those sprays behind the largest clouds. I've done some big ink splatters as well, and now I'm coming in with it's kind of like a burnt orange. It's the Kaisercraft Rose Gold Mist, and it's not actually rose gold, it's more like a burnt orange in a metallic kind of finish. It's a very interesting color, but I really wanted to bring in some orange on the background because I have quite a lot of orange in my papers and I have some in my photos as well. So what I'm actually doing now is using a hairdryer to dry off my page, and I have it on the cool setting. And this is a tip for you that find that your mixed media tends to warp your page quite a lot. I don't like using a heat gun to dry off my pages because I find that makes the warping worse. So a heat gun that you would use for, say, heat embossing, I don't like using those. I use my hairdryer on the cool setting and my page ends up nearly flat every time. So that is just a little tip if you're having a lot of warping issues. I'm just coming in now with my little mini cutter and I am cutting my photos down. I'm cutting all that, like that photo had a big section where my finger was covering the lens, obviously. There's some people in the background. There's, yeah, just a lot of stuff that I don't need to record. So I'm trimming all that off, and I think my photos end up being, they had that white border on them already, so I think they end up being around 3.5 by 2 3/4, round about that, a little bit smaller than 3x4. And then I'm just adding a white border as well. So they weren't well framed, the photos. I took them on my phone and it was really bright. I had the sun in my eyes, so I couldn't really see what I was taking photos of on the camera screen. So that's why they turned out so poorly framed. But once I've trimmed them down, it's absolutely fine. I'm going to back this photo with the rainbow stripe because this is going to go right in the middle of my page, and it is my kind of feature photo because it has my son, his face visible and nice and close up. So I'm going to do 2 layers of the rainbow stripe, and I'm going to turn it so the stripe is going in a different direction and that the colors don't line up. So I kind of wanted that rainbow just to be a little bit more obvious. So I've just turned it there, so now the orange is at the bottom corner, and again I'm just going through and distressing both of those layers with my fussy cutting scissors. And then the other 2 photos I'm just going to mat on this arrow paper. I think this is called One Way, and I am just going to do a thin border of that. I'm not going to distress it. I just wanted a little bit of an extra mat on these ones without them standing out too much. So my background is fully dry now. I'm going to add my cut file on top, and I'm just going to glue this down behind the backed with paper section, so the rainbows and the suns. And I'm adding a fair bit of glue because these are going to be the only parts of the cut file that are actually anchored to the background, because those vellum clouds, if I add glue behind them, you are going to see it. Even if I use tape's very obvious, wet glue's very obvious, even with that iridescent medium, they're still quite transparent. So I could have added some adhesive behind my photos, I suppose. But I'm just going to go ahead and glue these down. I want them staggered diagonally across the page like this. So a tip for getting lots of photos on your layout is just to use smaller photos. So here I just want to tuck this photo behind, so I've just trimmed that cut file a little bit so I can slot it between that rainbow and that cloud. And I did have to lift up my rainbow a little bit, so I've just used my bone folder to do that. Came up nicely. And then that is pretty much how they're going to go. So again, just adding a bit of wet glue behind, making sure they're nice and stuck down. And I've put the center one on pretty straight, and the top and the bottom one I have just angled slightly, so just a bit of a quirky angle. Alright, so now for the die cut titles. These make putting a title on your page so simple. So best buddies, I knew exactly what I was going to use. This title was perfect. So I'm going to put buddies here because I want to cover up that hand. There's a hand in the bottom right corner of that middle photo, and I'm not sure whose hand it is, so I just want to cover it up because yeah, it's just kind of strange. So buddies fits in there nicely, and then I just tucked best in at the top of my photo. Going through the die cuts now, I pull out this little extreme tag. I like that there. I'm pretty sure that stays there. And the accessory stickers, I have used quite a few of these, so I'm just going to go through and add a couple of banners, some of these tiny words, fit a couple in just nicely underneath my title here in that space. Then I think I will sneak one in just at the top here. I'm going to cut this sticker in half because the bottom has the date label and the top one has that best ever. So that will tuck in at the top of my photo with the tiny word sticker, and then the date fits in just perfectly right here. And I'm just going to pop my date. Just using my Pigma pen, and then I'm going to add in my journaling on this little label sticker. These are perfect for journaling, so I've just popped in that they're having fun in the sandpit at their friend's birthday party. So that tucks in just nicely there, doesn't cover up anything too important. And there was a bit of a gap, so I've just pulled in this other little banner sticker. And then the very last thing I'm going to add is these enamel dots. This is all I have left. I just have a few white and orange ones out of this packet, so I'm going to try and use them up. And I'm just going to add a few on the corners of the top and the bottom photo. And that is my layout finished. I really hope you enjoyed watching this process. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to check the description box for the link to the blog post on this layout. Close-ups are coming up, and I'll see you next time. Bye!